Thank you.
Oh, thank you. This is super special. Just to let you know that when I start with a chart reading, I first and foremost ask permission of your higher self. I also ask for your higher self to direct me and guide me in whatever way is necessary so that whatever information comes forward is exactly what you need, because there are so many layers to the information that are in these charts. So I did want to share a couple things with you that originally, when I first tapped into your chart, immediately I was met by a beautiful golden being. This being was incredibly tall, right behind me, and they took me on a little bit of a journey. So I want to share this image with you because it's been significant through a lot of what I was picking up. But this beautiful luminescent golden being that showed itself almost like an angelic would. It has wings, very long wings, but it's very luminescent, a very light being. So when you look at them, you see physicality to them, but also it kind of feels almost transparent, but not. And they took me on a path. So they said, come, I'm going to show you something. And they led me down this path. And as we were going, the lighted area where we were got darker and darker and darker. And we were going into inner caverns, what would be interplanetary places. I don't want to say Earth because I don't think it was on Earth. And we went deep, deep, deep in through these tunnels. And I felt absolutely safe, absolutely comfortable there. And as this being led me there, we ended up in this kind of open area where there were multiple other beings sitting, and they were all sitting and hovering and hiding. So the main message that was coming through is that they really wanted me to know that these were beings that had defected from a organization, and I will kind of get to touch into what I think that was, but there was a connection with an Orion group, a reptilian, actually not Orion, but a reptilian group that they had kind of been pulled into working with at a particular time. And they had defected. They did not agree with the overpowering and the control that was happening from this reptilian faction. And because of that, they were in hiding. And they were specifically very carefully saying they wanted to share this information because they knew that if they had been found in any way, shape, or form, it would be bad. I'll just put it that way, that if they were found. So the energy that was kind of being shared in the very beginning was telling me that there has been an energy around you that you have felt as though you haven't been able to show yourself, to be able to let others see you, or even having to be careful with how you expressed yourself and who you were. And this was kind of the initial energy. So I wanted to share that first because that was predominant, and then everything else started coming after that. So as I started to get the information, I asked what your soul origin was. When you incarnated from the source fields, that you actually incarnated through the Ring Nebula in Lyra. You have the majority of your connections that we're going to talk about today that you have are very specifically with Lyra, with Vega in Lyra. And also you have beautiful connections with these beings in Beta Centauri in a planetary system called Hadar. And so these are kind of the main connections I'm going to get to share with you over and over. We're going to come back to this information. So from this, it tells me that you are very much a Lyran starseed. You have connections to the Lyra constellations, to a lot of the timelines that has happened within the universe, as well as the wars that have taken place. That within the Lyra constellation, when you first incarnated, you incarnated within a rainbow hue of spectrum of colors, which was absolutely beautiful. That you actually incarnated about 900 million years ago, so it was quite a while into the creation of the universe, but much had already been happening within this universe by the time that you had incarnated. There was already species by this time. There was already different races that were starting to fight for territory and things like that. So when you came in, there was already kind of an energy that was happening, a polarity within the universe. And when you incarnated, that you originally came in more in what was a elemental kind of form, in the sense that you did not immediately incarnate into a physical body, but that you incarnated more as consciousness in this rainbow spectrum and frequency. And part of the energy that you were bringing in was reason and understanding. Now, within this, there was a kind of more of a propensity of your genetics that you came into and that you started to connect with within the Lyra constellation, that started to connect with the Athean, so the mantis beings. So this is more the gold ray that would have been the beings like the seraphim, the avian lineage, the mantis lineage. So a lot of the forms that I've seen you connected with, much like that being that first came forward, have wings, have kind of a connection in that body form and that body lineage. That you actually were at a 12th dimensional frequency for quite a while, holding morphogenetic race patterns specifically. So really working with blueprints and genetics within specifically what I actually feel more is the Athean or the mantis lineage. And this is very much, again, tied in with the avian lineage. So the seraphim line, if you want to look at it that way. There was a lot of emotion that I got going through this. There was actually many times tears came to my eyes, because the original being that came forward as he or she was sharing the story really was holding that there's a base energy of, here's what he kind of said. It was more telepathically told to me, but it says, ours is a shameful story from the opinion standpoint, but we just were part of the experience of what was happening in creation at that time. It was just the nature of the universe. So even though there was these beings who had participated within reptilian collaborations and gotten sucked in to some of the wars, they realized they were on the wrong side. And therefore, there was a vibration of shame, or the vibration was shame and resent and like hiding from some of the energy that they had participated in. So when I really looked at your charts, because I was like asking them, where are you taking her? Like, how long did this journey happen? Well, what happened is that this was not the significant or the majority amount of your incarnational time. Your soul was kind of showing information over multiple timelines. So I'm going to start to kind of tap in. It's actually a little more linear. So this is helpful to kind of tell the story. But within the Lyra constellation, again, you were connected more with the area of Vega. So this would have been the 10th Stargate. This was also the Stargate that the Seraphim lineage, so the reptoid, the insectoid, the mantis, and the avian body forms were the keepers of this Stargate. This is also the area where the most digression started to happen within the stargates of Lyra when the original Lyran wars were happening. Now, one resource that you might find very interesting that might help bring some puzzle pieces together, if this resonates, is Lissa Royale put a book out, The Prism of Lyra. And there's a great kind of segment of history that she tells in there about Vega, and about how Vega was one of the places where polarity really started to take place within the universe. And so what happened is, at that time, the beings of light, if you will, those that were upholding universal law and also upholding the energy of the divine mother energy of the universe, started to try to love more. But within this energy, those that were choosing polarity in the masculine energy, the more that the loving group was trying to love them, the more that they resisted it. So the more it actually created polarity within the universe. So there was kind of just this whole digression that happened there. What I thought was amazing within your lineage is that I asked, and you were connected more with the Noor Lyrans. So N-O-O-R, Noor Lyrans. And if you do look in Elena Danan's book, she actually has really great descriptions of a lot of the races, but it talks a little bit about the Noor Lyrans in there. They were connected with the area near Vega. So this really lined up. When I had asked where in Lyra that you found yourself kind of more connected, because you spent many incarnations in the Lyra constellation, in the Lyra system. You have heavy, very significant connection to Lyran starseed genetics within your starseed reading here. And so from there, that you actually went to a place in Lyra called El Haziel, which is, there's many kind of planetary bodies within Lyra. And what I thought was so beautiful is it matched up as I looked back later, because this is where the Noor Lyran colonies migrated when the wars were happening. What happened is within Vega, it got so chaotic there that your race of beings migrated to another planetary system in order to get away from that, to be away from that. But within those kind of lifetimes that you had there, this is where I feel as though at some point you got pulled in to the battles. You got pulled in, and this is where that angelic or that winged being comes in, sharing about being pulled into really fighting with Orion forces, fighting with the digressive races in order to take over planets. But it was presented to you as your duty. It was presented to you as kind of for honor, or this is fighting for our country, or this is fighting for our planet or for our land. And so it did not take you long to realize that you did not agree at all with what was happening. You have, of many of the charts I've done, I come across a lot of charts where people have a lot of connections to Orion, but they're the more of the higher dimensional or positive connections with Orion. And you have like a significant amount of connections with the Orion constellation. It is second in your chart to Lyra. But your connections with Orion are all your resistance and fighting against what many of the overtaking factions were trying to implement within the universe. So you have a ton of connection with Orion, but you have actually been working to restore balance to the universe and also to fight against what a lot of the Orion governances and factions of lower vibration were pushing across the universe. Does that make sense a little bit? So with that, within the Lyran constellation, let me just kind of look in here. You I have notes all over the place. You basically, were in these battles with all of these beings for quite a while, but within your time with the Lyrans, this is where you started to travel across many, many places in the universe. Thank you. They're like, here, take her here. So within many of the places that you were traveling in the universe, the Lyran colony and race that you were a part of primarily was very adventurous. You were spending a lot of time traveling to other planetary bodies, other planetary systems. You had been to everywhere from Hydra to Canis Minor. So you were visiting Ursa Minor as well, the Hades, the Pleiades, all of these different places you were going, but primarily a lot of your exploration had to do with searching for minerals, searching for resources, exploring the universe, hunting and searching for things. So this is actually what your guides were saying has created an energy in you that you like to travel, that you like to explore, that you like to discover things, that you like to look for things, and especially things that are found in nature and the earth, because that's primarily what you did, is you would go to planets that nobody had inhabited before. So you went to many that were inhabited, but many that weren't, that were just like discovering new territory, new land, and new raw resources that were available. And so throughout your travels, you had actually come multiple times to Earth. So you had already had, before you ever incarnated onto Earth, you had at least 3 times that you had been to Earth on a spaceship and come here and had really worked with resources, with minerals, with connections to the land in that kind of way. So you had ties and connections to Earth, absolutely. But as the wars progressed and as your soul started to move away from any of its influence that it ever had with the Orion organizations and the empire, if you will, and those beings that had pulled you in, your soul had to start hiding. That is what you were showing, is that your soul has had multiple incarnations, but each time that it leaves an incarnation, you go to a place called Beta Centauri. It is in the Centaurus constellation. It is actually really close to Earth. It is one of our closer neighbors. It's connected with Alpha Centauri, Beta Centauri, and Proxima Centauri is all in these areas. And you were specifically connected with Beta Centauri in a planetary system called Hadar, which is Hedarians. Now, the Hadarian beings are really high vibrational, but what I also found very exciting is that they are refugees that are from the Lyran lineage. So when you left Lyra, you predominantly went into incarnations in Elzihel, which is another planetary system in Lyra. And you also had some of your family members. So when you guys were refugees and leaving there, not only went to other planetary systems, but one of the places that you guys specifically went was to Beta Centauri. So the Hedarians would be descendants of the Lyrans, of where you originated. And I'm really lighting up on this. This is where this all ties in for you. But what happened is, after you defected, and you did not defect alone, there was a group of you, but it was a small group of you. And again, what you really wanted to say was, if it was just about them finding us and killing us, that would have been no big deal. But the Orion Empire has technology that can trap souls, that can track you through lifetimes, and that can basically imprison you or take ownership of parts of your soul, is how you were showing it, no matter where you go or where you incarnate or what you do. So there was a really deep energy for needing to make sure that you preserved the integrity of your soul so that they did not get any portion of it by them kind of capturing you. And then if they tortured you and killed you, they could take a fragment of your soul, is how your soul was sharing it. So this was really fascinating information for me to get to discover together with you, because that really kind of signified the urgency and the level of secrecy that you were holding within you. Now, as you left incarnations from the Nor Lyran colonies, when you would leave your incarnational form before you would take on another form, your soul went to Beta Centauri. You actually went to the soul field, is what you showed me, of the Hadarian family. So you never incarnated into a Hadarian body, but you incarnated into that soul field or with that soul family in between every lifetime, and you still incarnate there in between every lifetime. What you were saying is that is where you go every time when you are not in a physical body. That is where your soul goes. So this really was super special. I want to just kind of share with you a little bit about the Hedarians, because they're absolutely beautiful beings. They basically went to this place in Beta Centauri because they wanted to be sheltered kind of from what was going on within the galaxy. And they chose this place specifically to get out of all of that polarity, all of that war and violence and all of that kind of catastrophe that was happening. And they really chose to be there to be kind of an independent colony and society. And they didn't really choose to interact with any of the battles that were going on in the galaxy. Whereas many refugees and many new planetary systems, and as timelines progress, many of the beings will join, say, the Galactic Federation of Worlds, or they'll join with different rebellion factions or different things, right, to fight against the negative polarity that has taken over in the universe over different timelines. And the Hedarians specifically just chose to kind of create their own heaven, their own earth, their own place to be, to just live, to live in harmony. So the Hedarians and Hadar is very much kind of almost like a utopia kind of place. It's just beautiful. It's unspoiled. It's a place of peace. It's a place of love and benevolence and working in harmony. There's unconditional love there. The thing with this energy that I want to share with you, because your soul is so connected to this place, is you actually hold a lot of the Hadarian starseed traits within you. And these starseed traits tend to lead a person into a human lifetime of needing to learn boundaries, needing to learn to not lose themselves in a relationship with another person, so codependency. So with this, the starseed traits are really about love, unconditional love, being connected with nature, but so open and so loving that one can actually get taken advantage of by others, because there's just a pure sense of wanting to be loved. And so with this, just to know in that culture, think how open it is, how highly advanced it is, not only kind of in technology, but more so in spirit, in ascension, and one's consciousness is very evolved there. So therefore, there's very high empathic capabilities, the ability to really communicate with plants, with animals, with the earth, with land. So a lot of the energy with the vibration your soul has picked up from lifetime after lifetime there is incredible intuitive, empathic sensitivity, almost to the point where it's hard for you to keep another person's energy out of your field because you're so used to being open and merging with the energy of others. And remember, you exist there more on a soul field level, so not even in body. So that's a state of pure unity and pure consciousness that you're used to. So within the core essence of your heart, I would definitely explore you to just check into some of those starseed traits and those places within you, because this is an incredible gift that you have as far as being able to connect with other people, but it also requires a tremendous amount of sacred boundaries for you, living in a polarized reality, living in a physical reality in a place like planet Earth. It's going to mean you're going to need to create really good sacred boundaries for yourself. Now, part of the energy of being in that place was because it was safe. It was a safe place for your soul to be, to regenerate in between every lifetime so that it could really hold its essence of love, really. And within this, that when you did incarnate in, remember, every time you've taken incarnation, there's always been a feeling of kind of going behind enemy lines. I almost want to say your soul says it like this, that you have to be cautious about who sees you, what's happening, you know, if you're noticed, if you're found out, kind of thing. Because again, what you were saying, and let me find the notes on this, because this was really, really beautiful. But what you're saying is that every time that you go into incarnation, and I don't care what planetary system or place you go into incarnation, you have full-on contact and visitation from other beings, mainly the Lyran energies, and actually primarily you have great connection with something that is called the Ashtar Galactic Command. So what I want to say with the Ashtar Galactic Command, it's different than the Ashtar Command. When I really looked into it, this is what the storyline that you showed me is that when you defected from the reptilian legions or forces, if you will, that you were approached by beings, higher dimensional beings from Orion, who were working with the Council of Nine. So high vibratory councils that were working with beings from Andromeda, from many of the nebula systems, from the Scorpius constellation. There you had interaction with beings from Nihal as well. And as you kind of were leaving this place, you were approached by beings from the Orion Council of Nine in order to ask if you would help. Would you help to kind of switch sides, basically, and start assisting to work against the Orion Empire and these sorts of things? And when you did, you joined something that would have been the Ashtar Command, but what happened is that actually turned as well. So you were part of what is called the Ashtar Galactic Command, which is a benevolent group of beings that has mixed lineages from primarily from Sirius B, so beings who have worked to restore the Christos mission, beings who are working to kind of almost as a resilience force to kind of change the path of the universe so that it is being brought back into free will, being brought back into people have the right to live on planets, to have peace, to have the right to live there without some invading force coming and taking and pillaging from them, that kind of thing. So the Ashtar Galactic Command has ties and lineages to Lyra, to Sirius, and specifically a lot of Syrian Lyran beings who are kind of the more current timeline beings who are part of this Ashtar Galactic Command. Now, the Ashtar Galactic Command at this point doesn't have a planetary base. Their main base would be a mothership that moves about the universe. I really light up on this because when you are being checked on lifetime after lifetime with what feels like abductions or missing time, missing memories, missing things within one's life where it feels like something's happened but you're not sure what, this is who is checking on you. This is who is actually bringing you onto the ship and checking on you. And what they said they are doing is that they keep tracks. They keep track of what is going on Earth and in lifetimes that you are living. They said that the genetics that you are holding within your body are very, very special. And they've been observing you and taking care of you, like tending to a garden. But also it's very secretly that they're keeping an eye on you and helping you. That your incarnations are more so about kind of sneaking into physical forms in lifetimes in order to gather data and then to help feed information back. That the information that you give back isn't anything that you're holding in the intel of your mind. What they actually do is they said that they withdraw blood or genetics from your body, and then they look at your sequences of genetics and they read the marks in your codes to see how things are going or see how things are changing in the universe. So your body, I thought that was really fascinating. I'm learning all kinds by what they were sharing, but basically that your body is like a recorder system, so that as you travel, as you are drawn, because you still have that Lyran tendency to want to travel, to explore things, to go places. So your body's been encouraged to travel, land, and go places. And this is feeding back information because all of that's being recorded in your blood, in your DNA, and in your gene codes is what they were showing. So they check on you multiple times within lifetimes to make sure that everything is okay in what you're doing. Now, there was an incarnational cycle kind of in between. You had come to Earth and visited a few times prior to what we might call the fall or the Luciferian rebellion. You had come prior when Earth was more of a garden and a seeding place, where you were just, again, here to explore and find minerals, kind of research the land, the soils, all of that kind of life and things like that. But before then, you had spent some time in Procyon. Let me just, pardon me, Alcyone, in the Pleiades. So this is where you started to get a real tie to the Pleiades constellation. Up until this time, you were more in the Lyra constellation. You were traveling all over the universe in ships and also working with rebellion forces to fight against the Orion Empire, eventually kind of making your way with a connection to the Ashtar Galactic Command. But each time, again, your soul was taking refuge and sanctuary within Beta Centauri and within the soul family and soul field of the Lyran refugees that had created a very safe place there. They're very fortified and protected there, is what they show. So no one's going to get in there and mess with it. But your kind of path was sort of drawn to go to the Pleiades in Alcyone. And in Alcyone, this is where you did have ties and connections with the Anunnaki. And with, you actually was showing that you did have some ties with Enki. And what you were showing is that you were able to be within that mix because of your genetics, because again, the Anunnaki are a blend of the higher Lyran races and then eventually the Lyran Syrian races. So they have ties within the Seraphim lineage, remembering the winged beings that you are connected with. So you didn't actually really spend much time there, but it was more that you were aware of what was happening. And again, you were against the energy that they were pushing across, specifically the solar system, that they were vying for kind of ownership and power over this solar system, but that you did have sympathetic kind of connections with Enki, in the sense that, as kind of, even though he had his own loyalties to his family lines and things like that, he did make choices at different points in time that actually benefited humanity, that for humanity in future timelines to have kind of a loophole out of the hold of these Anunnaki rulers that were trying to take over the planet. So what it showed is you were just very aware of the genetics and what was happening in that time. Now, let's kind of step into some of your Earth lives that you were showing, because after the Pleiades and your time in Alcyone, this is when you actually started to incarnate into Earth. And you've actually had quite a few lifetimes on Earth. These lifetimes that you've had, there's been approximately 45 lifetimes that you've had on Earth. 3 of the lifetimes that you had, though, you came to visit here. You didn't actually incarnate here. You actually visited here on the ships when you were doing the research work and that kind of thing. So you had about 42 lifetimes here on Earth. Every single lifetime before this one was either from kind of 700-ish BC. So this would have been the time of ancient Rome. So it was between there and the Lemurian times. So you had your first incarnation on Earth within the Lemurian experience in the Lemurian colonies. So if you have connections with Inner Earth and the Lemurian beings, also this would have really tied in with starting to do the restoration plan, because these were the beings that were really holding genetics and codes to help restore the human body again back into living form again. So you have some ties with genetics in some ways, but you weren't scientific in any way. You weren't actually working with genetics. You were more so coming in and checking on things. So in that lifetime, you were a female. What you showed is that in that lifetime, you really worked with plant medicine. You were aware of you were very high vibrational being those. So you were here on Earth, but you were not completely on Earth. You would have been more of an ability to move in and out of dimensions, almost up to the 7th dimension. So having really available connection to councils, higher dimensional beings. So this wasn't a lifetime that you necessarily had visitation, because you were just connected, but you were here. And you were in the body forms that were starting to be here on Earth as caretakers of the land. And you worked with plants, you worked with plant medicine, really communicating with the land, doing healing work, but really just kind of living a basic life as one of the community. Nobody had really status over anybody else, because it was very unity consciousness within that community. So there wasn't like a title or anything prestigious, because everyone was prestigious. Everyone was really honored and special. So it was an honor for you to connect. And again, a lot of that empathy, think of that Hadarian energy of just telepathic communication with nature, with plants, with just knowing. So this would also show that, you know, you're in many of your lifetimes and in many of your experiences more accustomed to communicating with energy, more accustomed to communicating with anything other than words, basically, is what that was saying. Your next lifetime after that is you actually had an incarnation in Atlantis. And so in Atlantean times, again, this was coming in, all of the lifetimes that you showed me were female lifetimes. And this particular lifetime, it was about creativity. It was about expression. You were not coming in. None of your lifetimes on Earth were to come in and join a mission or accomplish something in any kind of material or forceful way. You really were here to, if anything, come share love. This particular lifetime was creativity and expression, and it was more of a beautiful life within that, but there was also negative energies that you had to deal with. And I asked in that lifetime if there was anyone that you are currently incarnated with that was there in that lifetime with you. And the answer that came up was mother. But I'm not getting that it was, I'm getting that there was discord within that relationship. So if there are karmic things within this lifetime, that would be maybe where it came from, is Atlantean times. So I'm not sure if that's something that resonates or not, but that was something that was coming through. And within that lifetime, again, you were more of an innocent and a woman that was just living a life, more of a pure life, so more of a temple life in that lifetime. Dancing, you showed dancing, singing, just kind of being creative, sharing the arts, also still very involved with nature, so elixirs and plants and medicines and that kind of thing like that. So stuff that you would have kind of used from the earth. The next lifetime after that was in ancient Egypt, and this particular lifetime was very interesting because you were starting to deal with a little bit more of the discord of the government, so the pharaohs and the things, but this is ancient Egypt, so this would have been right after kind of the Atlantis fall and the connection with the rebuilding. And within this, that you were holding a position of being a truth seeker, so holding the mystery school lineages, already having to start to preserve knowledge, hide knowledge, keep sacred knowledge in certain ways so that it would be preserved. So I feel very much in this lifetime that you were responsible with groups of others. So you were not alone doing this, but part of the ones that was embedding the secret knowledge into glyphs, into writings, into sacred places on the land, so that it could not be destroyed, so that the memories would be remembered here on Earth for future generations. So you were part of the initial beings who were hiding the mystery schools and mystery knowledge, that kind of thing. So very much spirit, truth seeker, and energy in that lifetime. Then the next lifetime that you were showing here on Earth, and just to know that you actually had multiple lifetimes in between, but the primary lifetimes were Lemuria, Atlantis, Egypt, and then this next one, which is Australia. And I'm not sure if you have any connection or if there's ever been anything that draws you to Australia or specifically the Aboriginals. But what came up is that in that lifetime, you were one of the tribe, or one of the beings. This was very much kind of another position, kind of like Lemuria. Nobody really had status or title there. You were family. It was very much unity consciousness as far as how everyone respected everyone. Everyone had a place. Everyone just contributed. But in that lifetime, that it was still based in spiritual truth, being a seeker, self-mastery within your spirituality, that you were what we might call a dream shaman, but you were a powerful dreamer. You were one of the females that could, you walked realms like nobody's business. Like whether, like how we're here talking, you could walk a dream realm and it would feel just as real. You could walk through realms and parallel realms and have connections with off-planetary beings. And they actually, within this lifetime, you had physical ET contact, because the off-planetary beings that you were connected with, they would just come land there. They didn't, there wasn't a society or a need to hide that actual physical contact. So you would have been part of the ancestors within this tribe that would have passed on the storylines of your star nations and your star families, and like, yeah, they're just right here, they're right part of us. And so I got really curious about this, and because I know the Aboriginals really have a connection to the stars, and so I really wanted to look at what stars they were most connected to, or what stars they felt they came from. And what I did come across is some information about they look at a place within the sky that they call the emu. So to them, it looks like an emu bird, but it is a space in the constellations that is kind of towards the tip of Scorpius constellation, and it's also at the tip of, oh, I moved it already, I apologize. I'm going to have to pull that back up. It is in between two constellations, so I pulled the constellations up to start to see what stars were in there. And this is very, very close to the alignment or the conjunction with Antares. Now, Antares is within the Scorpius constellation, and Antares is one of the portals in the stargates that connects us towards the mother universe, so towards Andromeda. And the Hadarian beings that are there are really beautiful, high vibrational, highly conscious beings that protect that stargate in order to maintain the preservation of that bridge between the worlds, so to speak. And they also really are involved in a very special way of helping souls who are wanting to evolve, wanting to take the path of spirituality and evolution and things like that. That is when they will kind of reach through and make a connection through dimensional corridors, if you will, to assist a soul that is really on a high vibrational path. So what I really felt at that time that felt like a connection, because something that had come up for you in your chart, even though you don't have a specific alignment to Antares in the Scorpius constellation on your chart, when I was asking of your soul different places that you were getting guidance from, Antares actually still came up, and I do believe it's actually tied and connected potentially to this lifetime with the Aboriginal people there. So I would just encourage you to maybe even look at that. And I will say that in this particular lifetime, I asked, because I like to ask if there's anyone in these lifetimes that you are incarnated with now in this lifetime. And I did get that who you knew in that lifetime or influenced you in that lifetime was in this lifetime for you as a being that would be your sister. And that being in that lifetime actually created discord for your Aboriginal people. So it wasn't against you necessarily specifically, but you were one of the dream shamans, if you will. It's not the right term, but I hope that it just at least relays the position you had with how powerfully you had a connection to working dream realms. And so there was almost a specific kind of feeling of responsibility that you had in there that you didn't foresee, or that you weren't able to, as a people, prevent infiltration from outside forces that came and imposed something that was not good upon your people. I didn't get all of the details, but that might be something in the future that you might want to go into, either a past life regression or just kind of look at to see what that energy is in there. Mainly because a lot of the themes of your lifetime has been about clearing shame and guilt for having been connected with certain timelines and certain things within the universe, and also a high energy of needing to hide or also not be seen by those that you have defected from in the past, because even though your path primarily has not even been that path, that you still have kind of are looking over your shoulder and making sure that you're okay. But to know that you are being completely protected, that you are being watched over, that specifically by the group of the Ashtar Galactic Command. So I did ask a couple things, and that I asked about if you had been abducted in this particular lifetime, and the answer that came up was 17 different times that they have actually checked in on you, that they have done that code reading within your form. But all of it has been absolutely benevolent in the sense that it's really just kind of like, not to say this in any off way, but kind of like reading a flash drive and gathering the data and just checking in and seeing how things are going, seeing what's going on in this planet. But at the most important message that they wanted me to share in the very end was that you don't have to hide anymore, that it's done and it's over, that you have actually been able to accomplish what was really desired from your different incarnations, specifically in Alcyone and the Pleiades, and also here on Earth. And that all that ever took place through the Lyran Wars and all of your resistance that you've ever had with the polarities, with the Orion Empire and all of that, that is really coming to a huge completion and a close for you. And the beautiful thing that I started to tap into here is, because I kept asking, like, where are you going? Are you going to choose to come back to Earth after this? And the answer was that your intention was to go back to Beta Centauri, to Hadar, but you didn't tell me anymore after that, because your soul basically joked with me and it says, hello, I've been telling you that's where I go after every incarnation. So where you go after that, it did not divulge. But what did come through is that you are being assisted by future timelines, or what you might even call a future you. And this is actually something that I really lit up, because I almost felt like this is where I have a connection with you. But your future self in the future timeline is in Andromeda. And so you are getting a significant amount of assistance from the Andromeda constellation, the Andromeda galaxies right inside of it. And so within this is connected very specifically, the Andromedan galaxy, specifically with your North Node and your South Node, which is your North Node, where you're headed, who you're connected with, who is helping you, what is happening. You are conjunct on your North Node with the Andromedan galaxy. And I was connecting with the form or the being there, and the being there is the Athean or the Mantis, which is a beautiful, showed up as a beautiful golden being. So this really took me full circle, because this was the genetic lines that you were starting to come into in the Lyra constellation originally. And so in future timelines, in a higher dimensional, this particular being was resonating at 8th dimensional frequency in the Andromedan constellation. So within the Andromedan constellation, you are receiving guidance, you are receiving connection. I would say that yes, you're connected to Beta Centauri and the Hedarians. Yes, you're connected with significant Lyran Starseed lineage and history through your journeys. But where I feel you are getting most of your guidance and direction is actually coming from Andromeda, the Andromedan galaxy, the higher mother galaxy, because Andromedan galaxy, obviously, that's the portal through to our mother universe. So these were the three main places that you are significantly connected and conjunct within your chart. So again, Lyra, with 7 connections within your chart with multiple conjunctions there, which means right in alignment, specifically with Vega. You have the next significant amount of your connections in your chart to Orion, but these again were mainly squares, which means stuff that you were fighting against, stuff that was challenging you, stuff that you have been working throughout your lifetime. So these were not benevolent, except you did have positive connections to the Council of 9 within Orion, because that is what has helped you kind of connect with the next group, which was the Ashtar Galactic Command. But now they are not really stationed anywhere. So this is where you're actually connected to a ship, a mothership, and also, you know, there's transport ships that go back and forth. So if you've ever had experiences that felt uncertain, maybe missing time, missing memories, missing things like that, I would really explore connecting with these beings, because I think this is the time, now that you're coming across this information, that it's able to be revealed to you more now, that the whole energy of having to look over your shoulder to worry about whether these negative Orion Empire beings are going to get to you. They said specifically, it's done, it's over, like you are completely safe, you are completely safe now, and that the challenge within that now for you is then to start to let the tension that your body's been holding go. Let all of that, because it's almost an inherent PTSD state, what they show in your body that you've been holding, and now you get to let it go. But more predominantly, you get to heal that through land, through just being you, having fun with creativity, that there's no specific thing you have to do in this lifetime, because you being here, you did exactly what you came here to be. So going wherever your heart leads you allows you to just be that experience of just enjoying life, having fun, that the more you connect with that, the more you are going to bring that Hadarian energy of your soul essence into a state of being, because that is something that's really important here, because it's bringing in unconditional love, but that you have the ability to really embrace learning how to be that, but with boundaries. That is, so it's kind of healing all the way through. This earth isn't quite ready for everyone to just wear their heart all out around them. That, you know, we still have to kind of keep our boundaries and preserve the sacred energy of love, because the planet is still rehabilitating. It still needs to clean up some of the lower vibrations, the lower emotions and frequencies that are on the planet. And that as you do that, that you are really connected with future timelines. So this really lit me up in the very end as I was looking, because they said all of this really, even everything you went from feeling as though you got pulled into a reptilian organization that you didn't believe in, was in some ways all predestined and pre-orchestrated all the way from future timelines. I couldn't quite understand how they were sharing that, but I will just pass it on in case that resonates for you in any way, because in the beautiful mantis being in Andromeda was really animate about it was all predestined, it was all divine, that in a logical sense you'll never be able to understand it, but that on a heart-based level, that there is an ability to just feel the correctness of everything you've ever done, and that you've really reached a pinnacle point in your incarnational cycles of connection with the Andromedan beings in a physical form. This is what they want to stress, in this body, in this lifetime, in this density, and in a physical form, because they said every time you are in soul fields, you are connected. So they're going to feel very much like, oh, family, home, this is where I've been. This is something that's super familiar to me. So this is specifically in your North Node in the 12th house, which is really an entire completion cycle. North Node in the 12th house is kind of taking the entire wheel and doing an entire kind of karmic purge on it. So if this was my chart and my reading, I would encourage to potentially look at the Atlantis lifetime with a connection if there is anything to clean up with mother energy in this lifetime, and also at the Aboriginal lifetime if there's anything to clean up with sister karma in this lifetime, or any energy that may resonate or seem familiar to that, and to just realize that it's all complete in any way that you can do trauma healing in the body. Bring your body into just a state of peace, relaxation, coming out of high alert. You're safe. You're okay. You've been on the warrior path for a really long time, and that now is really an opportunity for you to anchor more into that Hadarian energy that is super beautiful, loving, unconditional, and to be able to anchor that in now. So that's kind of the wrap up of a lot of what I got out of your chart for this time. Did you have any thoughts or questions about any of that?
Oh, Becca, that is so powerful. You are so incredibly connected and full of insight and wonderful information that completely resonates with me. There were so many aspects of everything you said that I know, or I have a sense of knowing, is completely true. And, you know, especially the shame, like I struggle with shame, and 90%, and I struggle with being seen. And I'm always watching my back and being careful about where I am and who's around and what I say and what I do and how much information I let slip out. So, oh my gosh, everything. Thank you so much. That was just so resonant and so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will tell you, this was an emotional ride for me. I definitely had tears streaming because I could feel just the emotion, especially of the being the guide that really came, and so beautiful, so beautiful. Thank you for everything you've done. Your soul journey is tremendous. So thank you so much for sharing this and just being a guide for all of us. I will
Thank
send
you for being connected.
Oh, I love you. I'm gonna I'll have this video so that you could see it, and then I'm gonna send you a really neat PDF just on Lyran souls, and I'll see if I can find some good links for the Hadarian beings and starseeds, and then specifically if you can take some time to look up Andromedan souls, and just any of the energy that resonates. I think that'll be really helpful.
Oh, I have so much to look up because it all did. Thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart. You have such a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you again. Bye.
Thank you.